The House of Representatives Subcommittee on Government Operations wants to improve recruitment and retention of younger federal workers. A new bill would establish a comprehensive internship and fellowship program at OPM. Congressman Gerry Connolly is a senior member of the House Committee on Oversight and Reform. He's the chairman of the Subcommittee on Government Operations. Congressman, welcome to the program.
Great to be with you, Mimi.
All right, so give us an overview of your new bill. It's called Building the Next Generation of Federal Employees Act, or NextGenFeds. What's the bill supposed to accomplish?
So let's put it in context just a little bit, Mimi. In the private sector, internships are used for recruitment. So there are companies that if you go through a competitive process and are chosen to be an intern with that company, you get trained, you get orientation, you have a mentor assigned to you, you're moved around the company so you can decide which part of the company maybe would be good fit for you. And the odds are in the 70, 80 percentile that you're going to be offered a job and you'll take it. That's an extremely successful kind of enterprise. In the federal government, unfortunately, we're looking at single digits of people who are offered a job and accepted. So the internship program has no rhyme or reason. There's no consistency whatsoever. Every agency, every department in every agency can handle it sort of the way they want. When, if they do at all, exit interviews, many of them are very negative. People saying, I don't want to ever work for the federal government again. The experience was that bad. That is horrible. I mean, that's just not acceptable. So my bill is designed to try to systematize the internship program. Give it a home within the Office of Personnel Management, appoint an executive director who's in charge, set some standards that have to be met, some evaluation criteria that will be applied during and after the internship experience, and try to pump it up so that we make it a positive experience and we use it for recruitment. We got to remember, 40% of the current federal workforce is eligible for retirement sometime between now and the end of the decade. That's 800,000 people we've got to replace. And we're certainly not going to do it with an internship program with single-digit positive results.
And so do you envision this center managing all the federal internships and fellowships across the government?
Well, I think the better word is coordination, because we don't want to take away the autonomy of agencies. An internship experience at EPA is going to be radically different than an internship at, the Center for Disease Control or NASA or USDA. So we recognize, obviously, we have to respect the diversity of the huge enterprise that is the federal government. But there ought to be some common elements in terms of mentorship, moving people around, making sure that experience is positive, exposing them to the various elements of a particular agency or department, and actively and aggressively trying to recruit those individuals for longer-term federal employment. Now, the bill also would give certain credits to somebody who successfully completed an internship program, so they have a little bit of a leg up competitively to be able to apply and successfully get a federal job. We think that makes sense. We do it for veterans. And if we're going to make the internship program meaningful at all, other than some appendage that has no impact, we've got to do this. And I think it's a small dent, but it could help professionalize the experience and give us at least one conduit in recruitment and hopefully long-term retention.
And as you know, Congress holds the purse strings. So how will this center be funded? How are you funding the initiative?
Well, again, we have, OPM has its own budget, and we could plus up the budget as necessary. I don't see this as a particularly expensive kind of proposition because I think it's mostly trying to bring together disparate pieces that already exist and having a coordination office within OPM. So I don't think that's going to be some big expense for the federal government, but I do believe that it will professionalize and upgrade the management of what is now an inchoate, disparate experience in the federal government.
And will this center be also looking to advance the administration's priority to promote diversity, equity, inclusion,
Yes.
accessibility?
Yes, absolutely. All those criteria would certainly be applicable to those who apply for internships, and these would be paid internships, which I think also helps. I know on Capitol Hill, for example, when we started to provide stipends just a couple of years ago for internships, all of a sudden diversity skyrocketed because prior to that time, it was families that could afford to have a son or daughter intern with a Capitol Hill office, and that just de facto was discriminatory in its face in terms of income disparity and inequality. So equalizing the opportunity to work for the federal government through a paid internship, I think, is absolutely critical moving forward. But all of those diversity criteria would absolutely apply to this program.
And finally, Congressman, how would you measure the success of this program? Would it be in the transition of how many interns would transition into the federal government?
Yeah, I think there are several metrics, but that's one, Mimi, absolutely. The bottom line is, and how do we move from single digit incorporation into federal employment and something, I hope, in the double digits and ultimately high double digits. So measuring success that way is absolutely a bottom line imperative. But I think there are other metrics as well in terms of, can we also make sure that more and more people who go through the program, when they do an exit interview, have a positive experience instead of a negative experience? Because that tells us the mentorship is working, the rotation within the agency is working, the experience was generally positive. And so those are some other metrics as well. And again, you can get at that by doing systematically exit interviews of people who in fact went through the internship program.
All right, well, Congressman, thank you so much for joining us. We'll check in on your bill as it moves through the process.
Anytime, Mimi. Thank you and happy holidays.
You too. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the video, give it a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel so you don't miss out on any future Government Matters interviews.